Okay, well, I guess the AI, if you will, the internet decided that it didn't want that last video to go up, to put up, and that's fine. So I deleted it. So I'm going to do this. What that means is that the way in which the data is presented on this video to those that watch it is not going to be in the same sequence that it was before. Because I'm not artificial intelligence, I'm not a cyborg, I'm not an android, I'm not a hybrid. Okay? So I wanted to share some things to see if others who watch these videos can sort of perceive it in the way in which it's delivered. Okay? So for example, when I mentioned about being in a homeless center, homeless shelter, okay? So what I mentioned in the last video, for example, that imagine if you've ever watched Star Trek Next Generation with Captain Picard, and there was a lady named Serena who was, if you will, like a seer, a psychic, if you will, what an intuitive empath is. It means that the amount of love that we have through our heart, which is infinite light, which is the purity of our spirit that we're always trying to maintain, because we want to be, if you will, because we know how to do this, is to maintain our spirit in the purest, absolute sense of the word, which is pure energy, the hottest stuff there is, okay, which is the hottest light there is. So we know how to do that, okay? That means that kind of being like Serena would make an outstanding Star Trek navigator, wouldn't it? To be aboard Starship Enterprise. And why is that? Because any being that has that much light, that has that much love for everything that is living in the cosmos, can see the stars ahead. Because the level of perception, which means what it is aware of everything that is in that light, which is all those star systems, she's aware of them. She's aware of what's there. So anything that might represent a threat to what we are, which is what love is in living spirit, she would know about it. And then navigate accordingly through the stars. Okay? That's a true Star Trek navigator. That's what I am. Okay? So, when I decide that, Captain Picard says, hey, listen, you want to come down to planet Earth? We're getting ready to liberate humanity. We've got the timeline secured. The Draco are basically out of business. We've taken down most of their ships. They're sitting ducks. There's no way they can escape. There's nothing they can do. But you know how these Dracos are. They're reptilians. They don't understand surrender because they have a perpetual target on their back because they're energy harvesters. They haven't learned how to be an energy producer within their own soul, okay, so to speak. So what that means is that I don't measure what it is that I do no matter where I go in the entire cosmos based on the same standards to which people measure themselves on this planet. Okay? Because the way that I make measurements, just like I did when I was a child, is called mapping the grid. And if you take the time, for example, to go to a YouTube channel with Kim Possible or what's called the Speak Project, she will go into what's known as the ground command. Okay? Now, without going into the whole history of what Patty shared with us through Project Ascension about who Anu is, okay, the Ring of Midas, the Builder's Tools of Earth, who Marduk is. Marduk handed the keys to the system, which is the financial system, which are called allocation or units of currency represented by a numbering system. Okay? So I thought to myself that I motor through the cosmos at a very high rate of speed. Okay? So when I think about what it is that I do and what it is that is important to me, it is through being both a student and a teacher, is we want civilizations to learn and thrive. Okay? So one of the first things that I had to realize when I mapped the grid, when we map the grid, we're actually mapping consciousness. All the units of consciousness that are here. So when you realize that we're in an energy harvesting system, and I was aware of that 5, 6 years of age, actually before that, as soon as I learned how to read through the language that they were giving me, that I thus learned how to translate the energy that they use to communicate with me, then I realized what they are and what I am are not the same. They're lower creation. They're lower evolution. And that's obvious because if you haven't learned how to become a self-sustaining unit of energy, which means you're attracting more of what you are, and you believe that you're going to run out of energy if you don't get an allocation of money represented by a unit of allocation number on a bill, that bill represents electrical currency. So the Rothschild-Draco families were allocating units of energy to everybody on the planet. That means that everybody becomes dependent on those units of allocation. That means that they're going to live in a state of fear if they're not getting what they believe in their mind that they need through them. So now they're held captive by money, and money equals energy, doesn't it? That means that as long as they're learning through them, the units of allocation that represent money is the means through which they believe they can survive, then they didn't learn how to have everything that they need already by learning how to be the kind of energy in which they're attracting more of what they are and realize, I don't need money. I have everything that I need. That's why I can live in a homeless shelter and say, the cosmos is my home. I'm only here temporarily in order to do the things that we do when we come into a civilization, to secure a timeline when it was set up to collapse because of the nature of the way that the Draco reptilians do what they do. They're energy harvesters and they're universe killers. And because it pains me to experience any loss of energy in anything that is living, we want this civilization to thrive, don't we? So how do we learn how to do that? By learning how to attract more energy, not more money. Or how do I put this? Accumulating more money. Because wherever that money is coming from, if it ever runs out, what happens? You go into a state of fear. And that's what a predator is. Okay? Because fear, okay, is living in fear of what love is. And if you're living in fear of the energy that is used to create the cosmos with, obviously that being is not sane. So when you realize that your consciousness is held captive to the acquisition of money that is controlled by a predator, then you're living in a state of fear of the loss of that money that is allocated to you because they did not learn how to attract more energy and know that they have everything that they have without money. Money was the trap, the mind trap, to keep people going in the other direction, which answers why in a previous video I talked about giving away all of the material things that I have and accumulating a lot of money. I don't want to hold on to that money. I got to keep putting it back into the system because they're harvesting energy through money. So I don't want to use my state of consciousness to represent what it is that they are, because I'm not what they are. So because everything that Draco wanted our consciousness to measure things as success was through allocation units, which are bits and bytes of electronic information, currency based on material acquisition instead of energy acquisition. Because light workers are energy givers, not energy harvesters. So Patty mentioned the hybrids, and that's one of the reasons why the Dracos introduced, or it took them, as I remember, 1,600 years to do a workaround with Gaia's RH factor. The RH factor means that the first mother of the avatar, okay, for this one was a great ape. Why a great ape? Well, if you've ever studied the great apes, which are extremely intelligent beings, they give love and nurturing and empathy and compassion to their newborns. Okay? So that meant that the great apes were the surrogate mothers for the DNA assembly that Gaia put together, which are the Homo sentient sapiens. So the first thing that the soul coming through the heart chakra of a great ape that comes out of her, which is a Homo sentient sapien, was receiving love. The soul connection was receiving love from its biological mother. Thus, when Homo sapiens begin to reproduce, they become, because the avatars have source-connected DNA, okay, it means that when we pass our DNA on to others, then that means that the frequency field that we can map is going to be a higher frequency energetic being that is source-connected, which means now you're running on a higher vibrational state of your awareness, which means you're evolving to a higher state of consciousness, which is a higher vibration rate of the experience, which is what love is, which is what light is. So the bottom line here is we want everything that is alive in living soul spirit to thrive. Where the last thing in the cosmos that they have to worry about is energy, because we are energy. So the notion that we're going to be losing energy is like saying that we're going to lose what it is we're aware of, which is ourselves. So we measure the evolution of our learning through our ability to thrive. So when I did as a child, I realized by doing a math, it's a simple calculation of how much energy is being lost, how much energy is being gained. And you can measure that in geospatial time vector ways. That's what I did, okay, as a child. I was beginning to realize how much are we losing, how much are we gaining, how much are we losing, how much are we gaining over geospatial time. Why is that important? Because every unit of consciousness is on a timeline. So when you want to measure a timeline as to whether it's going to collapse or not, it's going to be based on the sum of its parts, isn't it? So the more sum of its parts, particularly when you have hybrids that are using units of money allocation that represent money that are in fear of losing what it is that they believe that if they lose it, they're going to lose what they are, then they're attached to the money instead of being a part of what the universe is, which is attracting more of what they are, which is energy. So money is very much used to collapse a timeline, when they are the ones that everybody that is dependent upon for them for those units of allocated current. Remember I mentioned how the current, the electrons, okay, are essentially held captive to a time clock. That time clock is held captive to the units of consciousness that are using the electrons as the currency in which they're held captive, which is a lower state of evolution, which is a lower state of consciousness, because they didn't learn how this works, to escape their captors, which are the Dracos. So Kim Possible on Speak Project did a great video. I watched it. I was, there is no coincidence whenever I become aware of something, particularly when somebody shares some information with me, and then I go look at it. What I do is I don't remember knowing Kim Possible. She represents herself as ground command, but one of the things that she did is she talked about, and she did a great job actually, of showing how the Merkaba works and how you're in an energy system. Absolutely true. Okay, she talked about the front side and the back side, about how the Merkaba works with numbers and mathematics and units of allocation, which represent energy. We're in an energy system. Okay, so one of the things, because I have a friend of mine named Jay Brawley who came out of the Secret Space Force, we're your future. We came in here to represent the future, to secure the timeline. That's what Patty Broussard did. Secured the timeline. So when you realize everything out in space knocking all their crap out, now it's a matter of taking care of what's on the ground. Okay? That means all your political system, your intelligence agencies, all your military generals, President Trump, all the leaders in all the countries, from Vladimir Putin to the guy with name Xing in China, they all know that we know how to remove them, just like that. They don't have any escape. Okay? They're not going to be allowed to kill off humanity as they wanted to do. These are universe killers. They know that. So the ball's in their court. They choose to do something that is not meant in order for humanity to thrive and go forward, they're gone. It's that simple. So I wanted to mention a good video that ties directly into her video, which, when I talk about information or data that's important, the data, what I loved about what she did is she explains the Merkaba allocation of units of energy, who was controlling it, and some information that I know to be true because it's true. So what happens is that it's just like when I do a voice print ID, like I did with Patty Broussard. When I listen and watch a video, I have the ability to be able to read the voice print, which essentially is the core frequency identity of the being that is communicating, to see whether or not you're on our team or not. Are you part of the light forces or not the light forces? Okay? And that's a measurement. So seeing the stars ahead of us is what we do when you're running at a very high rate of speed, which means I don't live in any fear of lower civilization, or lower creation, because we are higher consciousness creation. We help units of consciousness advance up the tree of life. That's what it means to be a student and a teacher. Okay? So, I want to make sure I don't miss this. I had a picture of a Merkaba here. There we go. Okay. I'm going to end with this, and then I'm going to have to do another one because there was a lot that I missed. Can you see that? Can you see that okay? You see where the single triangle is within a circle? And then you have a larger circle around that. And I mentioned about a circle of light. That's half of a Merkaba. That's a single triangle, right? Now that's essentially a symbol that the Alano Club, which is Alcoholics Anonymous. That symbol right there, if you read that, that's an acidic state of mind. Remember, spirits and alcohol? Okay? That's an acidic state of mind. When you're in an acidic state of mind, it means that you do things that don't serve us. Okay? And I know that because I drank alcohol. I had to experience that. It took me 10 years to whip that demon. Okay? To bring my spirit, my light right back. But I had to experience everything that was necessary to experience to sort of put all this together as to why and how they were harvesting energy off everybody here. So I had to do certain things that I had to experience. And that was my timeline. I wrote my own timeline. Okay? Which means I knew that it was secured before I came in here. Okay? So why is that important? Because acidic state of mind is measured in pH. And pH is measured by millions of hertz. So if your pH, for example, is 8.4, you're running 800 million hertz per second. That's a very high rate of speed, isn't it? Now, the light emittance from which your auric energy field is running at an enormous high rate of speed, isn't it? Now we get to the Merkaba. Just like the girl up there, that's a 6 Stargate Merkaba. So is that. Okay? Can you perceive how this works? She does a good job of explaining how the Merkaba works with units of allocation of energy when it comes to electric currency by money systems. Okay? Merkaba. Light, spirit, body. Okay? 6 Stargates. That's what she is. It's a female Merkaba up there. She loves us. She's giving everybody free energy. That's what light workers do. We give everybody free energy. Okay? When you've learned how to become free energy, you're there. That's the whole idea, is to become a star, just like her. Now you can become anything you want because we're storytellers. We share the stories of all the places that we've been and everything that is possible to experience when you're experiencing it at a very high vibratory rate of speed. So you know, we love her energy. Thank you very much, girl. Anyway, I'm going to cut that as the second one this morning. Anyway, have a great day. I love you all. I'm actually very happy, okay, because we did it. We did it. We did it. She didn't have to rewind the clock again. We did it. This is the one that goes. You're all going to thrive. That's the good news. They don't have a choice in the matter anymore, and they know that.